Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's band concert. We are excited to have you here. For those of you that I haven't met yet, especially 8th grade families, I'm Mr. Dundas. I teach band here at Austin High School. We're thrilled to have you join us for an evening of music. We have 4 bands performing. Hopefully you got a program on the way in to see what each group will be performing for you tonight. One thing that we changed coming out of the pandemic, we looked for opportunities for each level of students, if they were in their last year in a building, to get to hear students at the next level. So we changed this concert so our 8th graders get to hear our high school students. And next month, our 6th graders will get to hear our 7th grade band as well, so that students get an idea of what they can do next, what's coming for them the next year. For our students, we've talked in class this week about our concert expectations and how we support each other and things that we do to support other bands. And I encourage you to be positive supporters of the students that are performing, just as you would expect them to do for you. Please help me welcome Mr. Wykin and the 8th grade band.
Good evening, everybody. That first tune was Call to the Heroes. That's actually the second time in the last 2 days we performed that. We played that for our Veterans Day breakfast yesterday morning. So 8th grade's been busy performing already this week. Our next song is a lyrical piece called Night Song. It was also written to introduce the band to a new time signature, a 6/8 time feel. So accomplish both of those tasks. Here is Richard Saucedo's Night Song. This next piece, entitled Adelia, is written in memory of a classmate of the current 8th grade students up here, in memory of Adelia Dundas. The tempo markings in this piece is with infectious enthusiasm, which captures how she lived life and spread joy to all around her, just as this music does. Please enjoy Adelia. To finish our 8th grade portion tonight, we're doing a classic one some of you might have heard before by the Backstreet Boys. the Ellis 8th grade band. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much. The first piece that you heard is titled Fanfare for the Third Planet in the solar system being Earth. In other words, a fanfare for the planet Earth. Something exciting that I think is a great way for our concert band to get, for most of them, their first opportunity playing in a high school concert and doing some high school level challenges, a lot of challenges in that piece, and I think they did very well with it. We'll go on with a piece that's in an entirely different style. The piece, A Hymn for Band, was composed by someone who did a lot of teaching and wanted a piece for his own students to be able to explore smooth style, legato style playing, we would call it, with a lot of moving lines that move around throughout the entire band. And so he ended up composing his own piece in the 1980s. This piece is titled A Hymn for Band, and I'll warn you, there's some spots in here where the band will pause, but it's not quite the end of the piece yet. You'll know when we get to the end on this one. One of the things we talked about with that piece is the tempo on that piece, the pulses, starts out around 60 to 70 beats per minute, which is slower than the average pulse of a ninth grader. And sometimes it's harder to play music that goes slower than our own heartbeat, and it forces us to slow everything down, slow ourselves down, to be able to successfully perform that piece without taking off on our tempo. Before our last piece, one thing I'll mention for people in the audience, if you are interested, there's a QR code on your program. You're welcome to look at this between bands as we're transitioning between bands. It has some more information about the pieces that we're performing tonight. I did my best to format it in a way that will load better on mobile devices. So if you're interested in learning more about any of the music that you hear tonight, or the stories behind it, or the composer's notes about some of these pieces, feel free to check that out in between bands as we transition to other bands. The final piece for concert band tonight is a piece titled the Maelstrom. Maelstrom being a giant whirlpool in the ocean, swirling around, sucking down any ships that get in its way or anything else that comes into its path. You'll hear a lot of swirling woodwind sounds with powerful brass sounds and big hits throughout this piece. This one's been a blast to work with, and I really enjoy getting to work with your students. Concert band's performance of the Maelstrom. The first piece you heard from Wind Ensemble, titled Encanto, is actually, it's not, it doesn't have anything to do with the Disney movie. It's a much older piece than that, but it's a festival piece. Apparently I said the wrong band. Let me try that again. Blah, 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 blah. Symphonic band, Encanto, wherever I left off. A great festival piece that includes a fanfare, some faster stuff, a slower lyrical section, back to some of the faster things, and ending with the fanfare again, a kind of a nice rounded piece that includes a lot of different styles within one piece. The second piece we're going to hear from Symphonic Band tonight is entitled Hennepin County Dawn. If you're not familiar with the term Hennepin County, that would be the Minneapolis area of Minnesota. The composer of this piece, Sam Hazo, was inspired to write this piece while talking on the phone with Dr. Craig Kirchhoff, who is a director of bands, or was a director of bands at the University of Minnesota. And in working on ideas for a piece, Craig was describing a fresh Minnesota snowfall out of his window, just as the sun is just barely beginning to rise. You can barely see the trees because they're covered in snow. There's little snowflakes still sprinkling down. Nobody's driven a snowplow or snowmobile through it yet. It's very pristine, very clean looking. And so you'll hear some of those sounds in this piece, an imagination of the first sunlight starting to glisten on the snow, little sounds from the woodwinds where each individual snowflake is still hitting. So a challenge that we've worked on, something that we've worked on in this piece is it covers a wide range of dynamics, and it has something called subito in it, which means suddenly we'll be playing something big, and then suddenly we have something soft, extreme sudden dynamic changes that you'll hear in this piece as well. Hennepin County Dawn. The final piece we'll hear from Symphonic Band tonight is a celebration type of piece. It's from a set of pieces called the Three Rivers Suite. These pieces were commissioned from composer Stephen Lyons, who teaches in one of the northern Twin Cities suburbs. He was conducting an honor band for the Three Rivers Conference, which is a lot of the schools from Southland and to the east, a lot of the smaller schools over that direction. Hired him to write this set of pieces for their honor band about 10 years ago. And he took the idea of three rivers and decided to write three sections of music, three movements about the three biggest rivers in the world. We'll be playing one of those pieces tonight. The first movement, the Nile. The Nile River, as some of you may know, starts in the middle of Africa and flows northward and ends in Egypt. And so we'll hear some different rhythms that are common in Central Africa, a cuckoo rhythm, as well as a 3/2 clave rhythm, which are both common in many cultures in that area. Then it goes to a more of a lyrical section that sounds like what's called the White Nile, one of the rivers that flows into the Nile, which has very calm waters. And eventually, it comes back to the same idea as the beginning, as the two, the Blue Nile and the White Nile flow together. Eventually, the Nile ends in Egypt, and we have a bit of a shift in just the last few measures with some sounds that are borrowed from Egypt and more of the Middle East. One thing you may notice or may not notice, but I'll tell you about it so you do notice it. In the beginning, we start with a rhythm pattern, 4 notes, 1 note, 3 notes, 2 note. And that represents the fact that the Nile flows 4,132 miles through Africa. So a little Easter egg from the composer that you might notice at the beginning and again near the end. This is the Nile. We can start coming up with that. I'll talk for a moment. We're solving a minor reed issue. The three pieces that Wind Ensemble is going to perform tonight, I took an idea that I heard from another band director a number of years ago who said there are really only three types of band music. There's music that's for your head, music that's for your heart, and music that's for your feet. He said that music for your head is stuff that makes you think, challenging stuff that makes you think about a lot of what we're doing. That'll be our third piece that we play tonight. music that's for your heart, music that makes you feel something, makes you experience something. That's the second piece we have. And music that's for your feet, music that makes you want to dance, makes you want to move around. And that'll be the piece that we start with tonight. It's titled Joy Revisited. Comes from a theme that Frank DeKelly used in an earlier piece called Joy. There's more about that in the program notes if you'd like to find out more, but really it's based on a feeling he had of pure joy just before his first child was born, but it really applies to everything in life. When we feel joy, when we're just so excited that it comes out. And so this is Joy Revisited. Our second piece that that wind ensemble will share with you tonight is titled "Good Night, Dear Heart." If you'd like to know more of the backstory about this one, it's in the program notes that you can look at the link at some point. But it's a heavier piece, deals with a loss in the composer's family and his feelings around it, and the feelings of his family with the loss of a loved one. And within this piece, it was originally composed as a choral piece and later transcribed for concert bands. So there are some things that we play differently in this style that you'll hear as we play more legato style. People come in at different times and disappear at different times, sneaking in and sneaking out. Really, as mentioned, the first piece was a piece for our feet that makes us want to dance. The second piece is a piece for our heart that makes us want to feel something. So this is titled "Good Night, Dear Heart." Our final piece this evening is the one I'm sure the students behind me will tell you that they are probably most scared of. We had a piece for our feet, a piece for our heart, and now a piece for our head. This is a piece that makes us think as performers. The composer wrote nearly all of this as quarter notes, eighth notes, a few 16th note runs at the beginnings, but it's very heavily based on eighth notes, but in one of the most challenging ways possible. Within this next piece, there are 148 time signature changes, which means we're changing the number of beats in each measure 148 times. Sometimes many measures in a row. It'll be a 4 and then a 3 and then a 4 and then a 3 and then a random 2, and sometimes we get 2 4s in a row, but we think it's going to be a 4 and then a 3. So it's very challenging for performers. It takes a lot of focus to be able to work through this piece with all of the different things going on. So this is the piece that's a challenge for us, and we hope you enjoy the performance as well. The composer David Holsinger back in the 1980s wrote 3 pieces. Something dance based on his 3 children. Niles was one of his children, or is one of his children. And so you can imagine in this piece a toddler running around the house, bumping into things, tripping over things, missing a step, but hopping right back up and going again, and somehow never running out of energy. And that's really what the composer is trying to capture in this piece, is the sound of a toddler running around and somehow making it through life despite tripping and falling almost all the time, as toddlers often do. So we'll end with this piece. Thank you for being here tonight. This is Niles' Dance. Thank you. Have a wonderful rest of your evening, and we'll see you next time.